Hello everyone, Zoe is here with another video and another guest. Today I'm gonna interview Ellie Gishra, who has many years experiences as an urban planner, and he works as a director in Navon Solution. If you want to know more about him and his responsibilities, watch this video. Hi Ellie, thank you so much for joining us today. To start, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your career journey, please?
Sure. My name's Ellie Gishra. I'm a town planner, and I've been a town planner for about 15 years. And I've worked in various roles, in local council roles, as well as private consultancy roles. And for the last 5 years, I've been running my own practice called Navon Solutions.
Very interesting. Can you please, Ellie, let us know a little bit more about urban planning's responsibilities? Like, what are the duties? What do you do?
Good question, Zoe. When I first heard about town planning, I was in year 12, looking for a career, and the first thing I saw was town planning. And I thought, well, that's similar to the app called SimCity, where you actually build towns and roads and houses and things like that. Except having been doing it now for 15 years, it's not exactly like that. So really a town planner, on some occasions for sure, you've got the ability to build new suburbs and things. But in Sydney, as you know, it's an existing urban environment. So what we're doing mainly as a town planner, we're dealing with people's projects. Like it might be a mum and dad wanting to build a new home, or a developer wanting to build apartments, or a child care operator trying to build a new childcare centre. So a lot of what we do is, I guess, approvals. That's really the bread and butter of what a town planner does. Another thing that we do is we provide advice, town planning advice for clients. So they might have, for example, a site that they own. They might want to do a renovation or a new house, let's say, or it might be a developer where they're looking to purchase a site to redevelop. And we give them advice on their chances of approval through council, as well as what are the hurdles that they have to jump through to get the approval.
That's right. So that approval comes from regulation and everything, right? Like based on regulation, they can be approved or not. But then regarding that town planning, like how can you define it as a difference between urban planning and architecture then? We
work with architects. Basically, our role is to keep the architects in line, to make sure that whatever they're designing meets the local council regulations. So I work every day with architects and other consultants too on projects. But yeah, I guess the main point of contact for a town planner is definitely an architect.
That's right. That's cool. So how is the demand of this job, Ellie? How do you define the demand of this job in Australia at the moment? Is that easy for someone who arrived fresh in Australia or someone fresh graduated from university find a job in this area?
Yeah, listen, it's not easy, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, as you might know, and I do get a lot of inquiries that come through to me. People looking for work with zero local experience, but they might have that experience overseas. But unfortunately, I'm finding it is difficult for them to get into the market and to get into a similar job to what they were in before they arrived in Australia. So it is very competitive, and I guess there's really two types of jobs that you can get, or industries you can get in a town planning role. Number one is a council job, or a local council job, or a state government job. Or the other option is a consulting job, which is what I do. Applying for a job, you really do have to ideally have experience in working in Sydney as an urban planner. I'll tell you a quick story actually. One of my old bosses in Waverley Council, he had been there for about 30 years and he was from Pakistan. And he once told me that he knocked on council's door with absolutely no experience and said to the council, listen, I don't have any experience here, but I have experience in Pakistan. But if you don't mind, I'd like to work for you for free. Oh. And in those days, I guess maybe you could get away with that. And so he was there for 30 years and was promoted and ended up being a director.
Wow, that's such a story.
Yeah. So there you go.
But is there any other thing these days for those people that already have experience from overseas and looking for a job here? Like, of course, they have to go through Seek, LinkedIn, find connection.
Right.
Yeah, but is there any volunteer opportunity in this industry as well for them to get into it?
Listen, I'm not sure about volunteering opportunities, but urban planners, town planners is very different to other industries, where you don't actually have to have like a certification. For example, an architect needs to be a registered architect to be able to practice in Australia, as well as a designer. A building design also has to have accreditations, and they have to have annual training and CPD points and all of that, just like a registered accountant, for example. But as a town planner, you actually don't need to do any of that. There is, though, a peak body called the Planning Institute of Australia, which I recommend to anybody looking to, I guess, start their career in town planning to just have a look at their website, and there might be some opportunities there for events. They have something specifically for young planners, so people just starting into their careers. So that might be an avenue for people looking to understand what does a town planner do, number one, and number two, to try and get some type of experience. So that's what I would recommend.
That's right. So regarding qualification, as you mentioned, so you mean it doesn't matter, like it doesn't make a difference if they have university degree, if they have self-educated certification, or they only have like experience from many years. It doesn't make a difference for them to be choose, right?
Well, listen, I should correct my previous statement. You do have to be you have to have a degree in, let's say, town planning.
That's right.
But at the same time, like in the last council that I worked at, they didn't ask for my qualifications. They just said, yep, you've got the job. Maybe 5 years after I got the job, HR was calling around to everybody, hey, can we please have your qualification, your certificate from university? Yeah. So no one really asked for it. But at the same time, I guess they respect you, and they understand that you've had qualifications and you have experience. So I would say qualifications in urban planning is pretty essential. I would say, working in Australia, working in Sydney.
That's right.
I went to the University of New South Wales, which was a 5-year course. In the middle of the course, we had 1 year practical experience, at a very low salary, but it was paid at least. And that was one way that I was able to learn about the profession on the go. So that was quite a nice opportunity.
And also making that local experience through a study as well, right?
Yeah. And I know also Macquarie University also runs a town planning degree, where also they have a certain period of time, which is practical experience, I think maybe 6 months.
That's really good. Regarding in terms of salary and wages range, like how do you see these sort of jobs like urban planning and town planning? Like how do you see the range? Is that like high paid job, or it's like a standard job that need to start from some specific standard amount and then go higher? And working hours as well, like is that normal 9 to 5 working hours, or do you guys need to stay on shift sometimes? Yeah,
good questions. I guess I'll start with answering your last question regarding the hours. Sure. As I mentioned before, I've worked in 2 councils before, and generally it's 9 to 5 in a council job, as well as probably any other public servant job. You're there from 9 to 5. If you're there at 5:05, the office is empty. That's the nature of working in a local government or state government role, I guess. You don't really have to take work home with you. That's the reality. Whereas in a consultancy, as a town planning consultancy, like what I do, and I've worked in other consultancies before, it is 9 to 5, but there's deadlines. You have a project to finish. So, you might have to be up through the night to finish it. The client wants to lodge their DA, they're doing an application on the Friday, and, you've got to cram just to meet their deadlines, right?
Sure.
Whereas in a council role, you do have, certain deadlines, but it's not as critical. You're not going to lose your client. You're not going to lose your job if you don't meet the deadline. So I would say there's a lot more pressure in a private consultancy role compared to a council role. And luckily I've had experience, in both. So I could, understand what happens on both sides of the fence. In terms of the salary, I would say in a council role, it's probably a lot more secure, a secure salary. Plus you also, I'm pretty familiar, most councils have something called an RDO, a regular day off. So it's an incentive basically for people to work in councils. It doesn't apply, I don't think, just to town planners, but probably all staff in council, where you have a 9-day fortnight working, and on the 10th day you have you can do what you want. You don't have to work. It's not a free day. You have to work, I think, half an hour every day extra to get that 10th day off work. So it definitely has the perks working in a council job. In terms of the actual salaries, I can't give you an exact number, but I would imagine a graduate position might be maybe $50,000-$60,000 in a council level, in a council role. Sorry.
That's right.
And then as you work through the ranks, it might be up to $100,000 a salary in a council position.
Standard range.
Yeah, it'd be a standard range. I guess if you do work in a private consultancy, it might be a little bit more than that. I'm not sure, but then again, you don't get all the perks of working in council, like the regular day off, as I mentioned before, and other perks. I would say too, if you're working for probably a smaller town planning firm, there might be an opportunity to be a director and to get shares in the company, for example. So there's various options regarding salaries.
That's right. Awesome. That's great, Ellie. Thank you very much. Is there any other things that you're going to add, or any tip or advice for someone who already immigrated to Australia and really want to be a town planner, and or someone graduated from university and looking for the job in this market at the moment? Like, is there any other tip or advice that you're going to add to them?
Well, yeah, especially with COVID-19, it's a very fragile market, I guess, fragile industry, especially getting a job now. But I guess a safe place to start would be in local council, because councils are not, I guess, stuck and reliant on clients, just like a private consultancy is. And I do know also the Department of Planning, the New South Wales government, has introduced different measures and incentives for councils to approve faster applications. So there might be opportunities for more jobs, I guess, in local government, in councils, and also with the state government. So I would say you might be better off starting in a local council role to understand the nuts and bolts and the processes of councils and DAs, because to be honest, it is very confusing, even for me, after doing it for 15 years.
All those regulations, right? Need to get used to it.
Yeah, exactly. So it is difficult, but I would, someone gave me advice too to get experience in both, and luckily I do have experience in both. And I would say anyone, coming from overseas too, they might want to look at the Planning Institute of Australia website, because there is a page on there which allows you to post your experience and qualifications for any potential position. So there might be a company looking, let's say, for a graduate role, and they can just pop onto that website and they might see, your CV, qualifications. So there is an opportunity there for people to try and get jobs without any experience in Australia. And at the same time, as I mentioned before, I do get inquiries through LinkedIn for people. While I might not have a job for them, I can certainly try put them in touch with, some people that might have jobs. So, you feel free to, contact me if you have any other questions about roles in Australia and Sydney. I'm always happy to help.
Thank you. That's great. So I provide your LinkedIn link, and I let them to reach out, and I really hope that it's going to be helpful. I thank you very much, Ellie. Thank you for your time today and sharing your information with us. I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed watching the conversation. If you have any question, comment below. I also provided Ellie's LinkedIn link as well, so you can reach out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want me to provide more video like this for you. Thank you.